Hello everyone. So this is my third video of my series English literature. As I have already discussed that I'm going to make a series of English literature. In this series, I will discuss uh, all important facts of English literature. I have already made two videos in which I discussed ancient literature and British literature, and this is my third video of British literature. So this video is about William Langland, a very famous author of British literature. His birth date is 1332 to 1400. He was born probably near Malvern in Worcestershire, the son of a poor freeman. His date of death is unknown. He wrote only one famous work, and the name is The Visions of Piers the Plowman. As William Langland wrote so many works, but his very famous work is The Vision of Piers the Plowman. The Vision of Piers the Plowman. This work, Will searches for Piers falling asleep on Malvern Hills. William Langland searches for Piers, and during his search, he falls asleep on Malvern Hills. The poem is a dream allegory in nature and begins with the line, "The voice of him that crieth in the wilderness, prepare ye the way of the Lord." So it is a dream allegory and begin with this line. For centuries, literature had been busy in pleasing the upper class chiefly, but Langland came as a great poet who appealed directly to the common people in the Piers Plowman. So why this work is famous, because in this work William Langland directly appealed to common people. The poem first appeared in 1362 in 1800 line, but after final revision it reached its final form in 1500 lines in 1377. The poem is in two The poem is in two distinct parts, the first containing the vision of Piers or Vesico, and the second a series of vision vita called the search of Dowell, do bet, do best, do well, do better, do best, as allegorical character. In the first version, that of the field full of flock, that poet lies down on the Malvern Hills on a morning, and a vision comes to him in sleep. The next vision are those of seven deadly sins that allegorical figured seems like shadows in comparison. These all came to Piers asking the way to truth, but Piers in ploughing his half-acre land and refuses to leave his work and lead them. So the first version tells about that a poet lies down on a Malvern Hills on a morning, and the next vision tell about seven deadly sins. The seven deadly sins are pride, luxury, envy, wrath, avarice, gluttony, and sloth. He sets them all to honest toil as the best possible remedy for their vices, and preaches the gospel of work as a preparation for salvation. Throughout the poem, Piers resembled to John Baptist preaching to the crowd in wilderness. The poem grows dramatic in its intensity, rising to its highest power in Piers' triumph over death, and then poet awake from his vision with the sound of Easter bells ringing in his ear. Finally, Piers appears as Jesus. Piers the Plowman is a part of alliterative revival of 15th century. It is divided into stanza called Paswas. Famous line from Paswas fifth is, in whose land are iniquities, whose right land is full of gift. Now, the next most important author of British literature was John Wycliffe. The time period of John Wycliffe is 1324 to 1384, and John Wycliffe was an English scholastic philosopher, theologian, biblical translator, reformer, priest, and a seminary professor at the University of Oxford. Translation of Bible in 1382 earned him the title Father of English Prose. So, who is called the Father of English Prose? John Wycliffe, because he translated the Bible in 1382. John Wycliffe is called the Morning Star of Reformation. In 1382, he completed a translation directly from the Vulgate into Middle English. It means he translated the Bible into Middle English, a version now known as Wycliffe's Bible. It is probable that he personally translated the Gospel of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and it is possible he translated the entire New Testament, while his associate translated the Old Testament. In 1377, Wycliffe and Lollards began Reformation in England. So why John Wycliffe was famous? Because he translated Bible into Middle English in 1382, and he associated with Lollard movement. What is Lollard movement? The church which was seat of power and prestige was infected with corruption and moral decay. The ecclesiastics were corrupt and demoralized. They were rolled in wealth and luxury. It means at that time, during 1300 to 1400, between 1300 to 1400, church, who was seen as the power or prestige, was infected with corruption, and the priest indulged into luxury and wealth. Poets like Langland and Grover freely revolted against the growing corruption in the church. Langland and Grover revolt against this corruption in church. They did their best to revive the spiritual Christianity in England. John Wycliffe challenged the authority of Catholic Church. He sent throughout the country disciples who were called Lollards or poor priests to spread his teachings. It means John Wycliffe challenged the authority of Catholic Church, and he gathered the discipline or the poor priests, which were known as Lollards. He encouraged them to seek their religion in Bible only, and for this purpose he translated portion of the New Testament of the Bible from Latin into English. Now the next author is John Mandeville. Sir John Mandeville is the supposed author of The Travel of Sir John Mandeville. It is a travel memoir which first circulated between 1357 to 71. The earliest surviving text is in French. मतलब इसका जो सबसे पहला वो था फ्रेंच में ही लिखा गया था, और उसके बाद इसको ट्रांसलेट सर्कुलेट किया गया इंग्लिश में. इन द प्रोलॉग ऑफ द इंग्लिश वर्जन, the author called himself John Mandeville and gives an outline of his wide travel during 30 years. It means it is a travelogue, and in this work the author translated the French version of this work into English version, and in the prologue he describes and he gives an outline of his 30-year traveling experience. French travels of Sir Mandeville were translated by Jean de Bourgogne into English in 1377. Now, the next author is Thomas Occleve or Occleve. The time period was 1367 to 1426. Apart from Lydgate, He is also one of the most significant poets of 15th century. He was a clerk in the office of Privy Seal, and some of his poetry claim to describe the event of his own life, as in La Mail Regal de Thomas Occleve, the prologue to the Regiment of Princes, and in two poems from the late sequence known as series, the the complaint एंड द डायलॉग विद अ फ्रेंड. इट मीन्स वह क्लर्क थे और उन्होंने कुछ उनकी जो पोइट्री है वो इसमें वो डिस्क्राइब करते हैं अपनी लाइफ को. मतलब एक वर्क है द रेजिमेंट ऑफ प्रिंस, एक वर्क है उसमें जो प्रोलॉग है वो उस प्रोलॉग का नाम है ला मेले रीगल डी थॉमस ओक्लेव. इसमें उन्होंने अपनी लाइफ इवेंट के बारे में बताया है और उन्होंने कुछ पोएम्स लिखी हैं जैसे कि सीरीज, द कंप्लेंट, द डायलॉग विद अ फ्रेंड. In this poem, he described the event of his own life. He also praises Chaucer in The Regiment of Princes. Occleve poetry also included the translation from Christian de Pizan, French poet. French poet का जो वर्क है उसकी ट्रांसलेशन भी उन्होंने की है. Now, next poet is John Lydgate. His date of birth was 1370 to 1451. John Lydgate of Bury was a monk and poet who was born in Lydgate near Haverhill, Suffolk, England. Lydgate's poetic output is prodigious, amounting at a conservative count to about 1,45,000 lines. His position is a man of letter rather than a major poet. Perhaps his greatest fame lies ironically in his praise of Chaucer. मतलब उसने चौसर को प्रेस किया है और उसकी ग्रेटनेस इसी में ही लाई करती है. Some of his important work was the Complaint of the Black Knight. It is modelled on Chaucer, the Book of the Duchess, the Temple of Glass, In Debt to the House of Fame, Reason and Sensuality. It is an elegy book. Chory book, a major contribution to the rendering of classical myth into English. It is 30,000 lines translation to Guido Daily Colony, commissioned by Prince Henry V. The story of Thebes and fall of Prince.